What would it cost to unlock a full march of tier 4 troops on the very first day of a brand new kingdom? In this video, we're going to get an in-depth look at the total resource cost, the total speed up cost, the amount of money you'd have to spend, and the exact process you would use to get tier 4 and a full march of them in a single day. Obviously, this is going to take a lot of spending, which is why you might be interested in the sponsor of today's video, which is a way that you can save money on purchases that you make in mobile games. Today's video is sponsored by the Amazon Appstore, a way that you can save up to 20% off your purchases in certain mobile games. And one of those games that I'm really enjoying is Puzzles and Survival. This is a city building war game, much like you're used to, where you've got to power up your buildings, train and level up different tiers of troops, do lots of research, which changes the way that your troops will perform and enhances your economic capabilities. And of course, there are heroes to collect that have very unique effects, both in the puzzle side of the game and the war side of the game. And don't be fooled by the puzzles portion in the name of this game. This is a city building war game with puzzles that you do as well. In fact, there's even a promotion going on at the time of this recording with The Walking Dead. Huge crossover event happening right now. You can collect the characters and many other cosmetics that will definitely give you nostalgia for The Walking Dead. And what's even more crazy is that you can save an upwards of 20% off your purchases in this game, and other games, by the way, by using the link in the description for the Amazon Appstore. Clicking that link will take you to a page that looks like this. It's where you can download the Amazon Appstore either to a Windows 11 device, an Android device, or an emulator. From there, you can download the games that you like to play. For example, Puzzles and Survival is in the Amazon Appstore. And the way that you save money is by using Amazon coins. You see, you can buy Amazon coins at a discount. For example, I often end up purchasing $100 worth of in-game currency for only $82, which is amazing. Definitely use the link in the description if you're interested in playing Puzzles and Survival, or even just checking to see what other games might be in the Amazon App Store that you're already playing. By using the link in the description, it will support the channel and it will let the developers know that I sent you their way, and you can check in periodically to see if any of the games that you're already playing are ones where you can save an upwards of 20% on your purchases. Thank you again to the Amazon App Store and Puzzles and Survival for sponsoring today's video. Let's get right into it. What would it take to unlock your tier 4 troops and make a march of them in a single day? I'm going to go over the exact path you would take, the things you would need to do for a day 1 unlock. I'll talk about the resource and speed up requirements, and then I'll talk about the things you would have to buy to get the job done. And it is not a small amount, and that is largely because of all of the training you need to do to actually make yourself a full march of T4 troops, because what's the point of unlocking them if you don't actually have any to swing around in the field? Not to mention that you are going to probably lose a not small number of them swinging into player cities, because let's face it, I mean, you're going to want to be aggressive if you're unlocking T4 in a single day, right? So to be super clear about what the end state is, we're looking for 125,000 tier 4 cavalry. And I'm going to recommend cavalry as the first T4. Of course, the main reason that I'm going to encourage cavalry is that you can expertise Minamoto, and as a part of this plan, you'll be buying your way into VIP 9 and Expertise Minamoto, because what's the point of having a T4 troop unlocked on the first day if you don't have a great commander to swing around with in the field? And Minamoto is the obvious easy choice for $95 or so. This is the way to go to get a powerful commander that you will get economic value from. I mean, it's a barbarian fort rally commander. I think he's still considered one of the best in the game, to be doing that for the rest of the time that you're playing your account. So it's early game punch and value over time. Which brings us to an interesting question. What should your starting civilization be? Now, I'm going to make the argument that the better starting civilization is still going to be China for this operation, because you're speeding up a ton of buildings right at the start. But what you'll notice is you're actually going to end up using almost as many building speeds as you do training speeds. And so often I recommend in the early game that instead you go for Britain. And in this weird scenario, it's actually a really good choice too, because not only are you going to use about as many building speeds as you are training speeds in this exercise, but Britain gives you a 5% training speed boost. And whenever I recommend Britain as a great starting civilization, people look at me funny because they're like, no, bro, it's just China all the way, right? And the thing is that people forget that you don't have any troops really at the start of the game. And troop training speed is actually pretty dang good, especially if you're just going to speed up a ton of troops. The alternative would be to do something less efficient or to simply switch to one of these civilizations potentially. But the other two civilizations where it's kind of an interesting idea, and we're trying to now assess, well, wait a minute, if you've got Minamoto, who are you going to pair him with, right? Boudica's actually solid. Sun Tzu, of course, is also going to be solid. But if you went all in on Byzantium at the start, it's actually not unreasonable. You will miss your 5% building speed. However, you are going to have the special unit. You're going to get a ton of sculptures of Belisarius specifically. And Belisarius is a solid open field commander. He really is at that stage of the game. And you don't really need area of effect damage, which is why maybe steer you away from Arabia, but you also could seriously consider it, especially if you think you're going to just like rally player cities. Dude, rallied army damage by 5%. Let's friggin' go. So you go rallied army damage, you go Arabia, you get a ton of buy bars. And the crazy part is that buy bars actually is designed for hitting cities. So I know it sounds like this weird crackpot idea, but he does good AoE damage, good debuff, gives you an attack boost, gets a little bit of a bonus for hitting cities, actually is super legit for running around like a madman in the field. Like, I think it would be a mistake to not consider going with Arabia and having the two commanders just ready to freaking go. Now, I don't know what the velocity of epic commander sculptures is really going to be super early in the game, but I don't think you can go any faster than if you go with one of these as the starting civilization to just crank out a ton of those sculptures from the get-go. And if you had Mina buy bars, double expertise really early, it's just disgusting. There was, of course, a couple other civilizations I considered but ruled out, because I think a part of what we're going for here is actually the commander that you get with the civilization. I considered Spain, right? Because not only do they have the special unit and the stats for the Cavs, which is really nice, but the problem with Spain is that Pelagius, like, he's good, but he's got this extra rage gen on his active skill, which is really just like, okay. So I'm passing up on Pelagius. Good city garrison, but you're going to just overrage with your Minamoto. His active skill is like weirdly wasted. I made a dedicated video about the intricacy of this. I'll put a card up in the top for the things that people don't understand about rage. I'll remind you about that at the end of the video, so you don't need to click it now. But the other civilization that you could look at as just like a generalist and a really solid commander to get early would be like France, right? It's pretty solid, but then you don't have the special unit for Cavs. Whereas like Arabia is kind of like this all-in plan of like pwn noobs. And I feel bad for the people that are going to get rallied with your Minamoto buy bars. This is just gross, okay? It's actually kind of nasty. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I have over 1,700 videos dedicated to making you a better player in Rise of Kingdoms, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next upload. But from here, after you've chosen your civilization, presumably you're doing a jumper process, by the way. Card will be up in the top for that detailed process in 2022. It's the latest and greatest approach. Let's talk about the research itself. One of the biggest problems of going with a day one unlock is you don't have the majority of the things that give you huge benefits. And by benefits, I mean percent reductions. Percent reductions in building speed and research speed specifically that really save you a ton of speed ups. So you're missing out on all of the alliance-based technology. You're missing out on all of the things that will also reduce, like holy sites, kingdom buffs, kingdom titles. There is just so runes. You don't even have any runes on day one. You are missing so many things that give you dramatic reductions. I wanted to mention that because I don't think this is a efficient play. It's something you do if you're like all in, like I don't want to say a madman, but like the amount of money it takes to do this is still non-trivial. I'll get there. What will you need to research? So in the economic technology, I think it's a big W to go and get all of the things that are time reductions and just get them early. And even if it's maybe not a break even for your T4 unlock. For the rest of the time you're playing this account, it's a big W. You just got to go for this, all right? You got to get masonry, improve your building speed. You got to go in past that, get writing, improve your research speed. I think it is worth going even further and getting a bunch of engineering and mathematics to further enhance your building and research speed. Mentioning that now because you theoretically could do this for, I think, less speed ups, maybe. Less resources, maybe. But I think if the break even's not there, it will be in the long run for the account. So it's super worth to crank on these as much as you can. From there, after you've done these, that's when you want to really crank on your military technology. Obviously, this is where you have to go next. And there's a lot of things that you ultimately need to go and get to get Teutonic Knight, in this case, I guess it's a cavalry. That's the Germany special unit I have now, unlocked on a day one. So you're going for cavalry. That means you're going to need cartography, means you're going to need combat tactics, defensive formation, and herbal medicine unlocked. You got to have camouflage. You got to have your T3 troops unlocked. You got to have all of this technology before it also unlocked, okay? You got to have all of this technology unlocked before here. I'm pretty sure you have to have these maxed, by the way, 5 out of 5. And even if you didn't, like the amount of speed ups and resources it takes to get these 5 out of 5 is so low. Like you would want to do these anyways really, really early. It's funny to look back on the beginning of the game and be like, man, everything is so cheap to get stats compared to the end game. It's absolutely insane. And of course, you start with military discipline, which you'll probably get by scouting a village, which is 20% training speed. Actually kind of nuts. Really good pickup right at the start, but obviously super free. So let's get into the actual cost of these things, shall we? How many resources, Chisgule, and how many speed ups is it actually going to take to get the freaking job done? And just to work on the buildings, you're going to need to get to City Hall level 21. 21 is the magic number you're going to want to keep going, by the way. To get to 22 is going to give you another march, 5 dispatch queues. It's freaking huge. So it's not like you really want to stop at 21, but for this exercise, you got to get to 21, which means you also have to get your academy to 21. And there'll be a bunch of prerequisites along the way as you're leveling up your City Hall and other things that you need to level up as well. The grand total for buildings is about, and I'm going to round here, 100 million food, 105 million wood, about 73 million stone. That's what you need to get your buildings into the right place. From there, there's the research. Now, depending on whether or not you actually go for the economic technology over here, you can save some speed ups for sure, which is pretty big. I went the route of saying, how do you do this as cheaply as possible and ignoring some of this economic research? But I think you should go for it. But if you ignore some of this economic research, which will cost you a lot of resources, but a small amount of speed ups, 100% worth it. You're looking at about 18 million food, 18 million wood, about 13 million stone, and about 14 million gold. And honestly, the gold you're going to need in total here is pretty low. So I'm not worried about your ability to get gold, by the way. And that's largely because your T4 troops, when you go to train them, they're not going to really require much gold at all. As far as the speed ups go, for your buildings, you're looking at 102 days worth of speed ups. And for your research, after your helps, it's actually a shockingly low number. I pulled down 34 days. The biggest thing is when you're over here and you're trying to unlock your Teutonic Knights. That is a lot of time. That was like, I don't know, if I remember correctly, when I first went and did this, it was about 20 days before helps, which felt like a lot at the time. That felt really monumental. And now it's like, bro, this stuff's just so easy to get. The other thing to keep in mind is that some amount of this technology you're already going to have by virtue of having done the jumper process. So some of this stuff you'll already have gotten 100% free as you just sort of worked your way to this point. My assumptions, by the way, included having VIP level 9, and that gives you some important buffs. And I only went to VIP level 9, even though I think you probably would choose to spend your gems and get to 10. And there's a number of reasons why you do that. First of all, 5% more building speed, 5% more training speed. It's your gems, it's your call. But if you wanted to sort of make your way to 10, I think that would be a huge W. On day one, you just lock that up. That would also save you a little bit more time if you wanted to do that. You're obviously getting the building speed civilization bonus if you go with China. Your research bonuses for both building speed and research speed are going to be pretty minimal. I went with that route where you're saving and really cutting corners for like the least amount you could possibly do to sort of get the job done. So in that case, we were really only talking about having this technology over here, masonry and also writing. But if you went a little bit further, which I think is super worth, it's going to run you more resources, but I think the amount of speeds you save are 100% worth doing. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the training. And the training is actually not trivial as well. I told you that the 20% training speed is huge over here. This is actually a pretty big deal because this is the only training speed you have in addition to your VIP, which is going to be another 10% boost, which means just to train 125,000 T4 cavalry, you're going to need another 37.5 million food, 28 million stone, and 2.5 million gold. But more importantly, you're going to need 90 days of speed ups. GG. That's a lot of speed ups. It's basically not quite doubling, but it's almost doubling the amount of speed ups you need for the project. Maybe that's an exaggeration. The grand total that you need is about 155 million food, wood, 115 million stone, 117 million gold or so, about 226 days of speed ups. And to an experienced player who's got an old account that's been around a while and you've been collecting speed ups for a while, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like much. But for a day one account, you got to remember, how do you get all those speed ups is a tricky question. So let's talk about the bundles you would have to buy in order to actually be able to do this on a single day. And what would the total price be to try to unlock T4 troops in a single day? Let's talk about it. First and foremost, there are a number of bundles that you'll get for the very first time that you're absolutely going to want to go and pick up. One of those that isn't here for me, but will be for a brand new player, is King's Coronation. You want to max out King's Coronation. You're going to end up maxing out City of Hope, which has a bunch of speed ups and resources, War Machine for the speed ups and resources, and Fountain of Wisdom for the speed ups and resources. You really could save a lot of spending if you weren't training the troops. But what's the point of unlocking the T4 if you don't have the troops, right? So you need a ton of speed ups to actually make your March of T4 to run around in the field with. There also are a bunch of pop-up bundles that you would end up buying. Those pop-up bundles include One Step Ahead. They include Writer of History. They include star and experience bundles based on your getting commanders to certain star levels and unlocking, I think, different tiers of troops. When you unlock a tier of troop for the first time, there's some bundles that pop up. Those are going to be super high value for you in this project. And of course, there's the cost of the VIP bundles to get Minamoto in the first place. And you definitely want to get to that VIP 9. You get your unlock of Minamoto, which is going to run you $195 just about. So the grand total it would take to do this entire project where you actually have the full March of T4 on day one with the Minamoto is around $1,700. That would be my estimate for what you could do. Now, there may be a way to save on some of the speed ups if you went a little bit deeper in the research, like I was suggesting. When I cut corners on everything possible, that was how I was trying to get to that lower number. But there is a corner I didn't cut. And this is worth mentioning, is actually with your gems. And you're gonna probably have to use a non-trivial amount of your gems to get to the final amount of speed ups that you need. In other words, all those bundles that I was just telling you for like the $1,700, that gets you about 180 days of speed ups. And remember, you need like 226 days of speed ups. So there are a bunch of places you're going to spend gems to get some speed ups. For example, you'll make your way into the VIP shop and you're going to buy all of the speed ups that you have available to you in here, which will include the hour-long speed ups. It'll include the 8-hour speed ups. There's also a series of quest rewards that you're going to be getting. Like they even give you in-game a 7-day speed up when you get to City Hall 21. Like there's a bunch of speed ups you'll get just from questing and getting stuff done that will help a ton in this process. You could theoretically spend less money if you wanted to fully drain the account of its gems and inefficiently buy speed ups, but that just doesn't feel like a good idea at all. You're going to have a lot of gems coming out of all those purchases. And in fact, you almost certainly will want to just run your way up to VIP 10 and spend the 75,000 gems it will take. That also will have the upside of saving you a little bit on the building speed and the training speed anyways. But you know, for perspective, the extra 5% training speed saves you like 4 days of speed ups. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying it's like not as monumental as you would think. I will say, however, the situation where it becomes way more obvious to push like a madman on your VIP and several other things is if you're going to go for a tier 5 unlock on day one, which I covered extensively in 2 videos. If you want to see how much it would cost to unlock tier 5 in a single day, that video is going to show up in the credits right over here in just a minute. Also, don't forget to tap the little info button up in the top, and you can see all the videos that I referenced over the course of this one.